Chapter 15, Deductive Skills. Deduction is the final phase of the mental process that the tracker employs. To recap, the full process is observe, remember, select and analyze, deduce, and comprehend. The tracker observes and remembers. He selects and collates the relevant facts and analyzes the interplay of the observations he has remembered. From this analysis, he arrives at deductions about what has happened. From these deductions, he gains an overall understanding and comprehension of the track picture. When the tracker arrives at the start of the pursuit, the quarry is like a ghost, without substance. But after a while, the tracker not only fleshes him out, but clothes him and eventually determines his emotional state. A couple of tales from antiquity will illuminate the thought process that the tracker should try to cultivate. These stories are from Judea and show the application of reasoning to observed facts. Not only just the tracker look, but he must also see. The first. 2 men were reduced to slavery on Mount Carmel. Their captor, falling behind, overheard one of them telling the other, "The camel that went before us is blind in one eye, is laden with 2 skin bottles, one containing wine and the other oil, and is driven by 2 men, one an Israelite and the other a Gentile." "You stiff-necked people," cried the captor, "how do you know all this?" They replied, "The grass is nibbled on one side of the road only. The drops of wine on one side are sunk into the ground, whereas the oil drops remain above it. One of the drivers has relieved nature at some distance from the road, the other, a gentle indecency, on the road." The second. The story is told of a man who bought a servant to accompany him on his journey home. Having paid the money, he discovered to his dismay that the servant was blind in one eye. "Be comforted," said the dealer. "Though he is blind in one eye, he can see much better than persons who have 2. The man departed with his servant. When they had gone a little way, the one-eyed slave said, "Master, there is a traveler ahead of us. If we go fast enough, we shall overtake him." "I see no traveler," said the master. "No," said the slave, "but I know that he is just 4 miles distant." "You are mad," said the master. "How can you know what passes at so great a distance when you can scarcely see what lies before you?" "I am not mad," said the slave. "Moreover, the traveler is accompanied by an ass, who, like myself, is blind in one eye. She is big with young and is laden with 2 skin bottles, one of which contains vinegar and the other wine." The master, who thought the slave was either insane or making fun of him, was wild with rage. They traveled on, however, and after a time overtook the traveler. When the master found that everything was as the slave had predicted, he asked him to explain how he could know all this without seeing. The slave replied, "Although I have not seen what I described, yet I knew the traveler was 4 miles ahead of us, for the almost imperceptible impressions of the ass's hooves in the road indicated that she was at least that distance, or the impression would have been more distinct, and could not be farther, or they would not have been visible. The grass, having been eaten away at one side of the path and not the other, plainly showed that the ass must have been blind in the one eye. Again, the impression the animal left on the sand when she rested showed clearly that she was with young. Further, the impression of some liquids that leaked onto the sand appeared spongy, while others were full of small bubbles caused by fermentation. These clearly indicated the nature of the liquids. To put what may have seemed a mystical and baffling process into perspective, I propose to give some solid, practical cases that will convince the student that the thought process of tracking are part and parcel of the totality. Deductions from a single print. A single print can give a range of information about the quarry. The size of a footprint gives an indication as to height. The depth of the impression, all other things being equal, is in direct relation to the weight of the man and his equipment. The angle of the print with respect to the line of march is indicative of the posture of the person. An athletically built person tends to walk with his feet parallel. Any scuff marks around the edges would suggest an idiosyncratic gait. The footwear itself will lead to other deductions based upon its manufacture, style, and state of repair, such as the country of origin and socioeconomic group. Deductions from a series of prints. A series of prints from the same quarry lets the tracker judge the speed, the gait, the load being carried, The heavier the load, the shorter the pace. See Chapter 21 for more details. Estimating numbers in a group. A group of more than 10 humans will automatically have such a well-defined track that following it will present no real difficulties at all. The estimation of the numbers in a large group can only be made with any degree of accuracy when either a resting place or an overnight camp or bivouac area has been located and the individual resting places counted. When estimating the size of smaller groups, follow the track to soft ground, then take what would be an extra large step, see Figure 37. Now make 2 lines across the track. One line level with the back of the heel of your rear leg and one level with the toes of your leading foot. Remember, the unit of comparison ordinarily adopted is that of a normal walking pace. Now count every variation of footwear or part of the visual impressions left by footwear within the space between our 2 lines. Our extra large step. Having counted the prints, divide by 2, and if the result is an odd number, say 7, then the estimate is 3 or 4 people. If the estimate is an even number, say 8, then the answer is 4 people. You might be able to confirm this number by counting the different types of footwear within our extra large step. If tracking children under the age of 10, have the extra large step and carry out the same drill as for adults. There is a possibility of inaccuracy if the first person to move through the soft ground weighed, say, 80 pounds and had small feet, while the average weight of the people in the group was, say, 160 pounds. The first person's prints could be completely obliterated. This problem can be overcome by repeating the process whenever soft ground is encountered. By counting from the extra large step, Figure 37, we get 12 impressions of footwear, partial or whole. Using our formula, this gives us an estimate of 6 people. However, from Figure 38, we can see that only 5 people made the track. A closer look at our extra large step will reveal that it is out of proportion to the average length of each step made by the group. It is nearly the distance of 2 steps. The adjusted method gauges the average distance of each step. Then we take an extra large step based on our assessment of the average. In this case, the adjusted extra large step is smaller than our original one and is more in proportion to those of the group we are tracking. Our new calculations arrive at the figure of 10 footprints, whole or partial, which, when divided by 2, gives the correct answer. As always, when producing estimates, try to confirm as and when the opportunity arises. Analysis of groups. In Figure 39, a total of 12 prints will be observed within the extra large step. 4 canine prints equals 1 dog. 4 juvenile prints divided by 4, because we have taken an extra large step based on an adult pace, equals 1 child. 4 adult prints divided by 2 equals 2 adults. On further examination of the human prints, we can deduce the sex of the adults. The print pattern has indicated 1 dog walking beside an adult male, probably on a lead. On the other side of the adult male is an adult female with a child, because of the evenness of the child's pace, probably holding hands with the adult female. The picture is that of a family going for a walk. By careful analysis of the prints in a group, one can work out the order in which they were walking. First of all, pair off the sets of prints into left and right. Then concentrate on the prints of the quarry and see how many of the others make foul sign over its prints at any stage. For example, if there were 8 in the group walking in single file and the set that you had isolated was fouled by 3 of the others, he must have been marching at number 5 in the group. The analysis of peripherals. Apart from the quarry's footfalls, his passage through the tracking medium is indicated by sign left by his equipment and clothing. For example, scuff marks on trees from load-carrying equipment, impressions left by items of equipment such as weapons, marks from a walking stick, discarded items of equipment and rubbish, his urine and feces, fires and cooking places, sleeping places, prayer stations. Figure 40 depicts an overnight stop by a patrol. Figure 41 shows the same area after the man has departed and reveals A. Weapon butt print and scuff marks, B. Cigarette ends, C. Marks from hammock cords on both trees, D. Rubbish pit, halal ration wrappers, E. Prayer mat marks facing Mecca, F. Scorch marks from a Tommy cooker, G. Scuff marks and heel marks where the person sat under the tree. H. Marks where load-carrying equipment was placed. I. Area used as toilet, urine marks on tree. J. Marks from kip sheet, poncho cords. All the above should be actively searched for by the tracker, as they will provide vital evidence to indicate the following: nationality, health, diet, morale, customs, traditions, religion, military or civilian. The importance and the amount of information that can be deduced from the track can be seen by the importance the military place on a tracker's report. They expect to be able to assess the following from a tracker's observation: direction of movement, age of the track, number in the group, the speed, loads, tactics, weapons, sex. The military process. When the military apply the deductive process to the work of their trackers, they use the following system: facts, something that is physically present; interpretation, the tracker's reasoning; deduction, the tracker's reasoning; assumption, the tracker's reasoning; reaction, this is to the conclusions from above; confirmation of the reasoning and the reaction; report of the sightings; recording. This is the final stage of the process when the written report is submitted. Interdeduction. Interpretation and deduction, interdeduction, in tracking terminology, is the essence of the tracker's mental processes. The tracker starts by making a list of all known facts. He then asks himself, how did it occur? Why is it like it is? When did it happen? Who caused the sign? He then lists all the deductions from this questioning. The tracker then brings into play his insight and imagination and makes assumptions, but he is careful to distinguish this purely mental process from the facts provided by the sign. With these assumptions, the tracker is trying to anticipate the quarry's actions, not only to find the next sign, but also to produce an overall track picture. Confirmation is the verification of the tracker's interdeduction and assumptions. It could be the sighting of conclusive signs, such as a boot print, known to be worn by enemy troops, discarded material known to belong to enemy troops, or the actual sighting of the enemy. The recording stage can begin with a sketch map of an incident, a rural case study as shown in Figure 42. Its accompanying tabulation, on page 181, highlights the subtleties and proves how much can be elicited from the facts when they are correctly analyzed. From the above, it is assumed that at least 2 foxes, possibly a vixen and cub due to the 2 different sizes of prints, consider the time of year vixens give birth, were out on a foraging mission and made a kill at grid 163348. They were probably disturbed by you, the tracker, which explains the very fresh sign at the incident area, and considering the mother's instinct to protect her cub, headed for home. To enable you, the tracker, to use any information gained, it is important that you compile a report during and after a tracking task so that you can build up a log about the animals that are in your area. This log should be supported with any sketches, photographs, and specimens that it is responsible to take from the countryside. This chapter should be read in conjunction with Chapter 21, which gives more examples of how the deductive process helps the tracker. As we saw with the 2 stories at the beginning of this chapter, there is nothing new in the world, and certainly the only aspect that is new in tracking is your personal development. This can be enhanced with practice, the study of tracking scenarios, and the exchange of ideas with like-minded people. Serial fact, interdeduction. 1. At grid 163348, the following were found. A. 4 sets of fresh prints in the mud, 2 sets smaller than the other 2 sets. B. Considerable amount of disturbance to an area approximately 5 meters square around what appears to be the remains of a pheasant, feathers, and uncongealed blood. C. Fur caught up on barbed wire 10 meters south of incident, where the sign entered a wood. At grid 167342, the following were located. A. A strong odor was smelled blowing into the area from the south. B. Numerous fox runs found in the area with well-padded down paths superimposed by many scratch and paw marks. C. Approximately 50 meters due north, numerous fox earths were found. Outside the earth, an array of articles were found: animal bones, fur, feathers, dried blood, footprints, bedding, and a large area, approximately 30 to 40 meters, of flattening and the odor of a fox. At least 2 animals, possibly dogs or foxes. Quarries may have made a fresh kill, blood not yet clotted, suggesting a very fresh track only 5 minutes old, possibly with visual contact. A close examination of hair left behind revealed that it was definitely that of a fox. The strength of the scent lingering in the immediate area would suggest that the quarry, in this case was a fox, was in close proximity. Sign indicating an area that is used by more than 2 foxes, possibly a fox earth. From areas of flattening and the great array of sign laying about, the earths were used by more than 2 foxes. Summary: the thought process. Deduction is the final phase of the mental process that the tracker employs. To recap, the full process is: observe, remember, select and analyze, deduce and comprehend. Aspects of deduction. Deductions from a single print. A single print can give: the size of a footprint gives an indication of height. The depth of the impression, all other things being equal, is in direct relation to the weight of the man and his equipment. The angle of the print with respect to the line of march is indicative of the posture of the person. An athletically built person tends to walk with feet parallel. Any scuff marks around the edges would suggest an idiosyncratic gait. Deductions from a series of prints. A series of prints from the same quarry lets the tracker judge the speed, the gait, the load being carried. The heavier the load, the shorter the pace. Estimating numbers in a group, analysis of groups, the analysis of peripherals. Deduction in the military tracker. A military tracker is trying to assess direction of movement, age of the track, numbers in the group, the speed, loads, tactics, weapons, sex. The military process. When the military apply the deductive process to the work of their trackers, they use the following system. Facts, something physically present. Interpretation, the tracker's reasoning. Interdeduction. Deduction, the tracker's reasoning. Interdeduction. Assumption, the tracker's reasoning. Interdeduction. Reaction, this is to the conclusions from above. Confirmation of the reasoning and the reaction. Reporting of the sightings. Recording, this is the final stage of the process when the written report is submitted. Interdeduction. Interpretation and deduction. Interdeduction, the essence of the tracker's mental processes. The tracker starts by listing all known facts. He then asks himself, how did it occur? Why is it like it is? When did it happen? Who caused the sign?